Hello and welcome to Cloud Robotics Working Group meeting.
Sorry, I'm changing. I
No
should be
problem.
back now. Oh.
I'm basically just, if anyone's watching the video back, I'm explaining what's going on. So there's no guest speaker today, so we're basically having just more of an informal chat. Like before we were doing logging and observability, we were just having informal chats a lot of the time. So the agenda is to talk about how it's going with logging and observability and review the guest speakers that we've had.
There, man. I am sorry. I switched from one Wi-Fi to the other one, and it took a very long time. But this one should be better. It should be more stable and faster.
Oh, nice.
Because I was seeing some lag, so that's I changed room and I was connected to the wrong Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I think you were saying that the fleet management, everyone's still building their own solutions.
Yeah, most of them. Or at least that's the impression I got, and probably that's also the impression that Christian has. We had a few people talking about them, but they're not. There's not so many companies doing it, or not so many companies that are vouching for it. Or I don't know. I mean, Christian is of course one exception. He has this very specific approach in which you can basically start from his base and expand it further.
Yeah.
But I was asking this because I'm wondering about maybe we are done with observability and maybe we should start thinking about the next topic, or
Yeah, my feeling as well is that we should have enough to write something. Something useful, and we've got contacts that we can go to and say, can you check over this and see if you agree with it? Fleet management is an interesting one. I recently found out that AWS Greengrass, which is the fleet management solution I knew until recently, that's keep the lights on, which means that they're not supporting it anymore and will probably try and get customers to move off it, which is a shock to me because
surprising. And to move them to what? Because what
their
do they
own
have
solution through
internally?
IoT, I guess.
So there is another IoT offering from AWS, or I'm not aware of it, so I don't.
There's no service like Greengrass, but there is jobs, IoT jobs. So you can specify templates and make them happen. So you can kind of build your own Greengrass in a way. Not as good as Greengrass, but Greengrass had its painful things too. I don't know why it's changing. When I left about a year ago, it seemed like it was ramping up. They were trying to make lower memory versions that could run on chips and boards, which I thought was a good idea and should have been done from the start, honestly. But some people love a language and they'll write everything in it. And I think the person who started Greengrass loved Java.
Okay, so it was written in Java. Okay, that explains a bit of the overhead and and the footprint.
I think actually it was written by the writer of Java, the original.
Oh wow!
James, okay. I can't remember his name, but very famous. But I can't remember.
Something like Cook, or I don't remember.
James Gosling.
Gosling.
That's it. I can't believe I forgot that.
I don't know these things. Names in particular are a thing that escape me at all times.
Yeah. But he's what was I saying? Greengrass going low level seemed like it was ramping up. I guess they're not making money off it. I guess the problem, I think it was hey there. We're just having a general discussion.
General chat.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think the issue with Greengrass was that I think it was free I think it basically just hooked into other AWS services. Like if you're storing Docker containers, you'd charge for that, and IoT you'd charge for that. But Greengrass itself was free, so maybe they didn't actually make enough money to justify. My other theory, which is a bit more, I can't think of the word, a bit less kind, maybe, is that AWS wanted to invest completely in AI and cut other things in order to make that happen.
This is happening everywhere in many companies, but not just companies, also the VC space is all going in that direction. I see so much money getting taken away of other sectors just to move to put it into AI, which is quite scary, to be honest. But
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
even too much. We,
Well, as much as I'm optimistic about AI being helpful in robotics, I do have this the general feeling we're at the stage of the tech life cycle where everyone's excited about it and trying to fit it into everything, even where it doesn't belong.
mm.
I think Christian has that view too, based on every time they've got AI involved, he's like, okay, but why is it doing maths?
Yes. Yes, I think he's quite skeptical about it, and he has his reasons. Although yesterday I saw a pretty incredible demo from a company. I need to look it up because it was they were basically the what is it called, the physical intelligence. They did this pi 0.5, the famous demo where they were folding laundry with a two-armed with a robot that had two arms, took the things out of the washing machine and was folding the clothes. They had this video. I don't know if you ever saw it, but this other company did has let me find it, has a really impressive video of the company is called Generalist AI, and the model is called Gen minus zero, so GEN minus zero, and they showcase a dual arm robot doing really fine manipulation of, I don't know, taking a cardboard box, placing a phone, basically putting an iPhone into the box and folding the little booklets and the thing that go with it. So really packaging a product with fine manipulation with two arms, fully autonomous. And that was quite impressive. And they have a blog post where they claim that they collected so much data to actually be able to show what everybody's expecting, the chat GPT moment of robotics. They claim they already have the scale for doing that with their own model because they collected so much data that for the task they trained on, it scales and it generalizes. But I mean, of course, it's all their own thing, so no way to validate it and verify it. But the videos are quite impressive. So it doesn't look like they are teleoperated because the robots are behaving quite well. Teleoperation, we are now jumping a lot into this also. We have what is it called, the leader follower set up with two arms that you can use to record things to train a VLA. One of my collaborators just released a data set of that on Hugging Face of this training data for grasping and picking things. And then we're trying to do the same things with a humanoid. My colleague Jorge is doing that. But this one with where you're using the Apple Vision Pro to basically see your own hands, and then the humanoid is able to mimic your actions. So if you're closing your hand or moving your hand forward, the robot will do it. But it's much harder to do that because the you don't have the touch feeling, the cameras that you have, at least the setup that he has now, the camera that he's streaming is not a depth camera, so you have a visor that would allow you to see things in 3D, but actually it's a streaming of the camera, so it gets down, flattened to 2D, so you have no sense of depth anymore, and it's super hard to control the robot without sense of depth. So we're also playing around with these things, but I think it's not so easy. Let's put it this way. And also there's too much hype on humanoids at the moment. So
Yeah. I watched a video recently. Very big YouTuber did it, so you might have seen it as well. But he's talking about Figure, how their robot was teleoperated for their marketing demos, and they do have written on the screen fully autonomous for the sections. It's autonomous if you look out.
Ouch. Okay. No, I have not seen that. The other big piece of news is, of course, 1X, right? With the Neo robot releasing into the
Sorry,
homes
it
for
was
2020.
Neo.
It was
Yeah,
Neo. Yeah, it was Neo.
mixing up Figure and Neo.
Yeah,
There.
yeah. So that one, yeah, also. I mean, I thought as a university, 20K for a humanoid is cheap. It's nice. So I thought if it was open and we could collect data with it and then reuse it and keep it for ourselves, why not? But the truth is, it's not like that. You are not allowed to use it that way. You call them up and you say, I want the robot to fill the dishwasher, and then somebody will teleoperate it to fill
Yeah,
the dishwasher, and they collect the data and it's theirs. So
yeah. And eventually they train their robot to do it by itself, hopefully.
yeah, with the data they collect, I mean, I can see it's a way to scale the data collection, right? So you have this big investment. There was I think, I don't know if I said it already, there was a talk by world famous Raffaello D'Andrea. He's a professor here at ETH. He was one of the founders of Kiva Robotics, which became Amazon Robotics. And he was basically saying that there's so much money now in AI for robotics and robotics itself, that it's basically transforming the market into it's drugging the market. It's not who has the best product now, but it is who is the best at raising money, because the more money you raise, you can outspend anybody else. So after a while, you are able to somehow kill everybody else in the market, and that's somehow what is happening. Like this 1X being able to give out robots for a lower price than the production price, or maybe equal to the production price, but giving out a bunch of them, you can only do if you have really deep pockets. Who else could do that? And then you can afford to collect a lot of data just because you have very deep pockets. And this is a huge advantage.
Yeah, yeah. And then you've got the data, which is valuable. Yeah. So original agenda was talking about logging and observability, and we spoke about that briefly before the recording started. Basically, we pretty much agreed that it's gone well. It's been great having lots of speakers and people getting interested in it, and now we think soon we should wrap up. Basically, we should write up that community guide that I talked about in every post, and
Yes.
our money where our mouths are. I don't think that's how you pluralize that. Anyway,
Hi. Hi. Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to ask some questions regarding, for example, if there are some solutions that you have tried for the video transmission from one server to another server using ROS, like with low latency, maybe WebRTC or some GStreamer, if you can help with that.
Our expert is not on the call right now, but he will come back. So Christian is definitely
Okay.
a WebRTC
Okay.
expert, so he can tell you. He can tell you much more than I can. Definitely, I don't know about what you know,
And
Mike, also about
okay.
WebRTC, but I'm not an expert.
WebRTC. That's it.
Me too. Me too.
Uh,
Christian has as a full implementation of WebRTC in his fleet management for robotics solution. Plus, I think he wrote the plugin
oh,
for I don't know for which visualization. Maybe I don't know if it collaborated with Foxglove for the WebRTC services or not. I don't remember. You have to ask him. I might be
That's
saying
cool.
something wrong. Yeah.
Um, I did a bit of working with his transitive robotics stuff recently. I was trying that out on a robot, getting it remotely operated. It's good. The video latency is really low. He
Is
must
it
have to work quite hard to bite his tongue in meetings.
yeah? Is it already using WebRTC by default? Even also that that platform that is the open is. Were you using the transitive solution, or were you using the fleet management that he open sourced?
So the transitive solution, yeah, go with his account. So Session, if you're willing to pay for video streaming, you can sign up for an account there, install the agent on a robot, it will stream video to your browser. It's fast, it's good. First month's free. I'll plug it for him.
But how about, for example, okay. Sorry, I wanted to have another question. Like, what what if, for example, I have a robot and it is running on Raspberry Pi, having a camera, and then I want to stream it to a server, and then I want to use the VSLAM, like some other algorithms for pose estimation, like that. Can it be used in that applications with low latencies?
I would guess that WebRTC isn't the right answer then, because what you could do is have a low frequency image being sent. So let's say 4 per second would probably be enough for VSLAM. That's my guess. I don't know if you've got any insight, Giovanni.
I don't know. The good thing about WebRTC is that it's adaptive with to the conditions of the network. So it will lower the quality, it will lower the frequency, it will adjust so that you get the best out of the bandwidth that you have available. So that's the real big advantage of using WebRTC. I imagine you are having this because you have a mobile robot with a Raspberry Pi, and then that you don't have enough computation on board, and you want to do the computation remotely just because of resources. But what about the connectivity between the robot and the server? Is it stable, or you're really moving around, and then you need to be adaptive? Sachin, I think you're muted.
Okay, we'll wait until he's back then. So, the topic, logging and observability, we should write a guide on it. I need to get on that. Yet more writing. It's
you're
good.
You're doing great at writing. It's very nice.
Thank you. Incidentally, the ROS post, I have since heard that RCL-RS is very likely to be in the next release of ROS, which is so cool. I don't know if you're a big Rust guy, but I love Rust.
Not yet. But I'm getting. I see everybody is getting very excited about it.
I'll sell it to you. Don't worry.
Yeah. So yeah. I would gladly look into it once I have a bit of time.
So retirement. Yeah. In however long.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Christian.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
No problem. We are recording already.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Session had some questions about streaming video, so we're telling him about the wonders of WebRTC and transitive.
Yeah. What's your question, Sachin?
I think he went away because of network errors, so I assume he'll speak up once he's back.
That's usually part of the problem with video streaming. It doesn't always cooperate.
Yeah, exactly.
Oop, 2 minutes. Okay.
2 minutes, please. He's saying.
Yeah, okay. No problem.
So the general conversation was about logging and observability. I think it's gone well. Got people excited, good speakers, and we should try and write that guide and maybe move on to the next on the list, whatever was number 2. It might have been ML in the cloud or something. I'd need to check. but it would be great to get that out there. So any comments?
Do I remember correctly you saying that we have another guest speaker from another company, robotics company coming?
Hopefully. So next week, I think when I was talking to him about it, he was preparing for ROSCon, I think. So very busy, said he'd try and make it. So I just need to bump him and see if he is free after all.
And that's in the same category as Carter Schultz, where they would be able to speak to the real world problems and how they've solved it and all of that, or?
Yes. So he is, I believe, the CTO of Dexery. His name's.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know him, yeah.
The very tall shelf scanning robots, the crazy tall shelf scanning robots.
I'm actually not sure. I probably should look at that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, they're famous. They're also a big supporter of ROS too. You've seen them almost certainly. You can't avoid them because they always show off they have a robot. If it's the one, I'm pretty sure it is. It's a telescoping robot, right? So the robot itself is already pretty tall, like room height, but then it has 6 or 7 layers of telescoping inside, so it can go up and 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 up. And they do that for shelf scanning in like large warehouses, like think IKEA and taller kind of warehouses. Yeah, so that would be awesome to hear from them. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Apparently he gives talks at ROSCon and other conferences already, so it shouldn't be too out of his way to give us the same talk and answer our more specific questions.
That's another good keyword. I don't know whether you've already talked about it, but we could do a session where we just look through stuff that was presented at ROSCon. I think they've recorded everything.
Yeah.
And then we could try to deep dive, like we could basically do sort of a filter of, this is what was talked about at ROSCon in the context of logging and observability. I'm sure there's some mention here and there, maybe not specific talks, but I don't know. And maybe this is one of the things where an LLM can help us read through all of the abstracts and find the ones where they might be touching on logging and observability.
I was going to the next level. Do you know of an LLM or a tool that actually watches the video and gives us, or at least the transcript afterwards? Because otherwise, from the abstracts, usually you might not get enough of what the talk is really about. I mean, yes, the general content, but not the detailed thing. And if we're looking into specific things for cloud robotics, maybe it would be worth at least once we identify things with the abstract. Otherwise, in 1 hour, we won't be able to watch videos and get.
That's true. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm with any hype, anything that seems useful, I'm sure somebody's working on it. So I'm sure it exists somewhere. I think even like YouTube now transcribes all videos. I don't know whether these videos are on YouTube or not, but we can probably find it. We can probably search.
Usually use Vimeo for SRF based content. Yeah. So I don't know if that one, but yeah, we can check.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Hopefully next time will be the guest talk. Next meeting, that is. The meeting after that, I'll be away. So then we're looking at later in December. We could schedule it for then, assuming it's soon enough after ROSCon that people are still interested.
Might not even be so bad to leave a little bit of a space right now. Everybody's overwhelmed with their own take on ROSCon, right? All of the summary descriptions, which are great, right? I mean, I appreciate them just like everybody else does. But it's a lot, right? It's a lot to digest. So if in 2 months we provide them with something distilled of what we took away from it with logging and observability, they might be open to it. I don't know.
That's a very good idea.
Great. It's funny you mentioned LLM because earlier we were saying how you're our leader in not allowing LLMs to do maths.
I'm just very critical about this happens a lot, right? When there's hype, people try to throw the new technology at everything, and of course, then sort of just from a prior probability, 90% of that got to be garbage, right? Because the tool is not the panacea. Like it's not, like people have tried that in the past with other things, and but that shouldn't distract from the fact that for certain things it's really, really good. And of course, we're talking here about a text analysis. That's what LLMs are for, right? They are very good at summarizing texts.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. On all fronts. I think Sachin might have spoken up then.
I thought that was.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I wanted to ask regarding the usage of WebRTC for video streaming and like from one robot to the edge server or some device, and then use some VSLAM approach to do the post estimation and localization. So if you can give some suggestions or guidance on that.
If you want to do so, a couple of things. If the device where you're streaming to is on the edge, meaning it's on the same network as your robot, you probably don't need WebRTC. WebRTC, really, the keyword there is web. If you want to get the video stream into the web browser, that's when you need WebRTC, because currently WebRTC is the only really practical way to get UDP into the browser, and that's why it's so important. And it obviously pulls in a lot of, or rather, there's in this family of what WebRTC really is, there's a lot of technologies and standards that help with that, such as packet loss mitigation, congestion control, obviously video like encoding and so forth. But if your device is on the edge, you may not need that because your network is you're doing it between two end devices. And the other reason why I'm saying that is if your goal is to do VSLAM, you don't want some of the features that WebRTC gives you, such as the dynamic bitrate modification, right? Like here, if for some reason my network would drop, you would still see me and I would still be low latency. I would just be very pixelated, right? That's what's called congestion control. So the encoder would dynamically recognize that bitrate has dropped. Let me reduce the bandwidth has dropped. Let me dynamically adjust the bitrate so that we can still get you the latest frames through, even though they're much smaller because they're pixelated, which is better than building up latency. But when you want to do VSLAM, you may very much care about the very specific details of right. I mean, when you look at my image here, right? Like edges like this here, right? They give you a very good indicator in where you are. And I'm not totally up to speed on how VSLAM works these days, but these edges used to be very important. So in your case, if you really is your edge device like on the same network as the robot, and is it a relatively good network connection?
Yeah, it's on the same network. For example, the robot is connected to the Wi-Fi, and then I have a VPN connection to home where my desktop is running. But my main concern was like, for example, let's suppose we have a RealSense camera, and it is like using the ROS driver to publish the images from the camera. And if I directly send this data to the desktop device, it will consume a lot of bandwidth and congest the network. So I was thinking if there is a way of using this WebRTC or like some other G streamer to stream the video to the the desktop device, and then from there maybe I can start another VSLAM ROS node which can subscribe to this data and then try to estimate the position and then use this data for the SLAM or for the navigation.
So it's obviously, the obvious question is, why don't you do SLAM and navigation on the robot, which is the only safe way to do it? Do you not have enough compute power on your robot?
Yes, it has a Raspberry Pi 4.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, the right answer, I think, is to get another compute device on that robot that can actually do it. I wouldn't be surprised if even the Orin Nano, which is relatively affordable, I think it's $200 or something, $250, could do it. I haven't tried myself, and I don't know whether NVIDIA has any good like VSLAM, GPU accelerated libraries or something like that. Honestly, that would be the path high level that I would suggest. If you really want to do the the edge device VSLAM, then yeah, you would have to take your ROS topics. In fact, if it's a RealSense camera, you probably don't actually want to go into ROS, because ROS transport is not super efficient. So you probably want to tap into the point cloud directly from the RealSense camera and put it into a RealStream. Do you want to use point cloud from the RealSense, or do you want to just use the RGB image?
I think it uses the RGB and depth, like the stereo images, both for doing this feature detection and then post estimation.
Okay, so two different answers for the two different streams. So RGB, yes, you can take the RGB stream, put it into, pipe it into GStreamer. Then you do absolutely want to video encode it. You can use obviously H.264, which is a good protocol, and set a high bit rate so you don't lose much, but you will still get a lot of bandwidth reduction just simply from the fact that the image doesn't really change, right? Like when you look at me here, the only thing that moves is my lips and a little bit of my face and body. Everything else stays the same. So obviously, there's a lot of repetition that ROS images would send, and that's where a lot of savings can come from. So absolutely, you can save a lot there. For the depth image, it's a little more tricky because all of these video encoders, H.264 and so forth, are optimized for human consumption, right? They optimize for something that to the human will look good or correct or whatever. So for instance, if you look at this patch here behind me, a lot of that might be pixelated into like 4 or 5 pixels because it's roughly the same shade of gray. But you don't necessarily want that for your depth image, because if the usage of the image later is to transform it back into a point cloud to do SLAM on, then some of those details may be really important. So that may or may not work. On the other hand, streaming point clouds themselves is also not trivial. You can look at a new library that David Faconti, sorry if I butcher his name, recently announced, Cloudini. I should have asked Giovanni to pronounce that, because I heard that David said Cloudini and then in parentheses with Italian accent. I can't do it, but anyways, it's an Italian it's a compression library for point clouds. You could look into that if you want to stream the point cloud to your edge device. But I guess you could start with just RGB and just do pure visual SLAM on that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so logging and observability, we should write a guide, and then move on to the next topic. Did you have anything to talk about there, or in general about times of the meeting, or ways to structure things, or anything while we've got the opportunity between speakers?
I guess I'm a little maybe I'm setting the bar too high, but I still don't feel empowered to write that guide about logging and observability. I feel like we only scratch the surface, so to speak. Like we've talked to a lot of people. Several of them were like vendors, and that was useful because they've already boiled the problem down a little bit. And then we heard from Carter Schultz on what it looks like in the real world, but those are sort of point examples, right? And now, like, I guess, yeah, maybe if we sit together and think about what can we really, what are the conclusions? Like, what can we conclude based on what we have heard that we can really say is sort of an insight as to how to do it? Because it's meant to be some sort of how-to guide, right? This is sort of a best practice almost for logging and observability, or am I misunderstanding that? I think that's what went in mind, right?
That was the original idea. If that's what's most useful for people, definitely.
Yeah. I find it hard to imagine. So just when I think of that guide, I think of the people who will, of course, read it, but I will also think of the people who will not read it from I want to learn how to do it, but from hey, I know something about it. And for instance, I'm thinking about the MCAP folks, right, at Foxglove, and like all of the thought that went into how they invented MCAP, why they structured it like this, and so forth. And I think of conversations that I had with Benji from Roboto about Parquet and why Parquet might be better than MCAP and in what regard, and so forth. And I walk away from all of these conversations thinking like, well, I'm the audience there. I'm listening. I'm not telling them. I don't have much to tell. I'm just absorbing. So now if I was to write a guide and they would read that, wouldn't they say like, yeah, but guys, I'm sorry, but you don't know too much about this stuff. I don't know. I mean, one way to solve that would be to get some of them to chime in, right? Have them co-author it almost. And from all of the people that come to my mind, I guess Benji is our best hope there, because he was kind enough to come and present, and he's always pretty friendly in that regard. Maybe he would be open to that. I almost feel like we need somebody like that, somebody who has a little bit more authority in that domain, if that makes any sense.
Definitely. So my thinking was not, I'm going to write it, check it with you two, and then publish it. It was, let's get our thoughts in order, and then we can start to figure out holes, ask people to review it. I would like to offer it to everyone that has spoken and say, could you read over this and give me your thoughts, including Benji. So yeah, that's where I was going with it.
Okay, so it could be a longer exercise writing that guide. It's not like a matter of 1 or 2 sessions, or I mean, it also, I guess, comes down to how much offline time we have to contribute to this.
Yes, I had assumed it would be almost all offline, given that whenever I'm writing a blog, it takes over a day, and if we split that into separate 1-hour sessions where multiple people contribute, that's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So probably what would happen is I'd try and write something, maybe the full guide or maybe just some structure that I think would work, and then bring it back and see what you think. And either I would continue that alone, or we can take sections each. Depends what people have time for. So I would write it if needed by myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my experience, it's always good to get people involved early in the drafting process before there's too much text, just because bullet points are easier to review, and just sort of making sure that the overall structure and high-level points that you want to make are correct before we flush it out. And maybe that would also be, it's easier to enroll people at that point rather than once you give them a long article and kind of ask them to kind of proofread it. Because if that at that point they have objections that are more fundamental, they may, they may feel like they may feel to be in a bind, right? Because you've obviously put a lot of work into it, so they don't really want to just shoot it down. But at the same time, they may have some real, they may have done it completely differently, or have tried a different approach, something like that. So yeah, it sounds good. So maybe just like have some bullet points as to what you think. And actually, that might be something that we can do in one of these sessions. Maybe if you come with if you have a first draft of the bullet points, we can discuss them here and see, like, massage it. And maybe that's actually, it's typically easier to get people to commit time when it's sort of in meeting time, right? Like because then we can time cap it and tell, okay, Benji or whoever, if you could come to this and that session, we would love to pick your brain and get your input. Then they know, okay, this is it, right? I will go there for an hour, I'll chat to some friendly people, and I will do my contributions, and I'll walk away. And it's not like a to-do item on your list that keeps slipping and keeps giving you a bad conscience or something like that.
That's a great idea. I had assumed that we'd write bullet points amongst ourselves and then share them. But if we invite the speakers along to the same meeting, that makes a lot of sense.
I guess we'll have to do whatever works best for them, but at least we can try. And if they prefer the other way, that's obviously an option too.
Yeah. I'm sure someone out of the various speakers we've had would be willing. Great, sounds good. I've got a holiday coming up, so maybe that'll keep me occupied on the plane, or it'll go the way that all work does when I intend to do it on the plane, where I forget all about it. Otherwise, it's nothing specific on the agenda. It is just general discussion. If there's anything you want to change about the meetings, and also, Christian, I remembered this while you were talking. I mentioned it to Giovanni earlier in the meeting, but I've heard that Greengrass, AWS Greengrass, is now keep the lights on.
Oh, interesting. I did hear. Well, RoboMaker already went that way not too long ago, right? But that's interesting that Greengrass is now too. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I did not expect that. I actually sort of thought that they had just sort of rolled the RoboMaker team into Greengrass and kind of focused on IoT. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised as well. But hey,
I guess
maybe an opportunity.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Thank you. I did get that context. I guess Amazon had some layoffs, right? And they are probably focusing on AI now.
That's my thinking. Yeah.
I mean, you've been there. Is it typical for AWS? They have so many products, right, under the AWS umbrella. Is it common for them to stop projects similar to, how Google is, sometimes people make jokes about the Google graveyard. Is that something that is that common at AWS too, that they start a lot of projects and then some of them die again, or is that rather an exception?
My limited experience was with RoboMaker and a couple of other robotic services that also didn't happen. So I don't know if my experience is representative, but yes, that is common.
But I think we already spoke about the RoboMaker, right? It was really tied up to iRobot, and then when that. So I think we mentioned it already the last time, but it indeed surprising that Greengrass is going that way, because I was also expecting, like Christian, that it would go, robots would be IoT, and there you use the same thing, but instead, and I was asking also Mike, what is the alternative technology then? But he was mentioning that there's no obvious, simple substitute for Greengrass, right? You would have to do some extra work yourself.
Yeah, well, I will try to change that narrative, right? Because there's Transitive is partially inspired by Greengrass, but more like happening at the same time. I actually built Transitive and then found out about Greengrass and having the same sort of idea of shadows, and like it's all of them are also Google IoT Core, right? Was built on MQTT. We all have the same. In some sense, all those three things had a very similar idea, right? You use MQTT for the communication, but then you want to have some sort of a higher level of abstraction on it, where you do data sync rather than just message passing, right? And then that's where the philosophy changed slightly. In our case, it's literally just like Google Docs or Dropbox, where we are synchronizing the same data and you can read and write at the same time. In Greengrass's case, I think they were stricter about the should be state and reported is state, meaning that that happens in like two different namespaces, so to speak, right? But very similar idea, right? And so Transitive being open source and vendor agnostic, I was trying to convince people that is obviously has some benefits, because it won't go away. Yeah. Interesting. No, thank you for sharing that. Maybe I'll write a blog post now on exactly that.
And around that topic was, what other solutions are there for fleet management outside of AWS and Transitive? I think Giovanni was saying, and I agree, there doesn't seem to be much, at least that we know of.
There are, but they're all third-party, like full-fledged systems. I mean, Formant is still relatively big. In Orbit, they just raised a round. And then there is what I'm observing, and of course I'm very close to this, is that there's now a little bit of a trend of industry-specific fleet management solutions. So, for instance, there's Energy Robotics, which makes one for energy infrastructure robots. Then another customer of ours, Corelix, is building a fleet management system for construction. Then there is ground control, I think they call it, which is mostly focused on drones, and I think it's mostly in an inspection space. And then I guess there's like variants of fleet management. I mean, even in Syneon, the company that we saw last time, they are doing aspects of that, right? They are trying to be fleet management, and I guess people realize now that like this one size fits all doesn't really work, so they specialize more. Another one is Miro ML. They are now focused on. They were doing deployment management. Now they're focused more on configuration management. And of course, Foxglove announced that they are thinking of tipping their toes into more fleet managey kind of things. Yeah, there are definitely, and I'm missing some. Cogniteam Nimbus in Israel is another one, but they're all sort of third-party full-fledged systems. Where Greengrass is different. Greengrass is much more like transitive, right? It's sort of a tool that you can use to build your own, kind of almost like lifting the ground rather than bringing the ceiling down, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think that was it. I think all those companies they have fleet management systems, but they've built them themselves. Is that right?
Yeah, so most, that's why we call it the make versus buy dilemma. Most companies build their own fleet management system. And when I was in that position, right, when I was working with these robots there, the delivery robots, because we couldn't convince ourselves about a third-party system, simply because a third-party system will never be complete for what we needed. And the differences between any two robots is stark, right? I like to say like a indoor delivery robot is different from a drywall finishing robot, is different from a strawberry picking robot, is different from a self-driving car or a sidewalk robot or an underwater data collection robot, right? Yes, we call them robots, but they have almost nothing to do, nothing in common. And as a result of that, the deployment needs and the monitoring needs and the software needs are very, very, very different. Which is why I don't think one size fits all. And so that most companies have that trade-off, right? They can go with a third party where they get a lot of tools up front. And that's great, but then over time their needs specialize and there's always this gap of what they need. Or they build it themselves, then they can make it perfect, but it's a lot of work. And that's why, I actually feel like giving them better tools, and basically just helping them build their own fleet management system by whatever means, right? Like we do that through these components, we do that through open source. We partially do that through blog posts that guide them a little bit on topics such as video streaming, and partially my involvement and interest here is to do more of the same, right? Help them figure out how should we do logging and observability. I think that's really the way to do it. But yeah, absolutely. Like people who don't use transitive typically build it themselves. Hey, Phil.
Hey there, Phil.
I feel.
Sorry, clearly I forgot to update time change on my calendar.
The issue around clocks changing is that not everyone's clocks change at the same time.
I know, and I thought it was going the other way in my head. It's like, okay, I got an hour, and then I just looked and no, I was backwards. Anyway, sorry.
That is one thing to bring up. Has everyone's clocks changed, and do we want to move the meeting back an hour so it's the same local time as before?
It works for me. Did the clocks not change for you, Michael, in the UK?
They changed, yeah. They went forward. The one that gives you an extra hour sleep.
Yeah, they did it like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I didn't want to change this meeting's time, but in the past, OSRF recommend you just stay the same time in UTC, but given that we're all in the same hemisphere, it doesn't really make sense for us.
Either way works for me. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Next week I'll be more prepared, or 2 weeks I'll be more prepared.
I like it like this with the change now, because then apart from today where I have a daughter watching Frozen behind me, hopefully you don't see her, and it's easier like this because that dinner for them is after the meeting, and then I can feed them.
Nice.
Okay, no, that works. Let's stick with this time then. And then we've got 4 minutes left. So does anyone want to talk about anything else? Silence. Okay, great.
Just earmarking it. We did that Xeno experiment at one point. I keep hearing more about it. Like at ROSCon, everybody was again very interested in Xeno, I heard, and it's now, I think, in is it already in the K? What is it?
There's Kilted.
Is it there already a tier 1? I think it might be. I just wanted to earmark it that at one point it would be fun to come back to that and just check in on it, because I feel like people are interested in it. We enjoyed doing it when we did it. We could revisit it at one point.
Yeah, that's interesting also for me.
Sounds good. Yeah. I think the latest I heard, and this is probably out of date as well, but they are planning to make it the default middleware. I don't know if it is the default middleware yet.
Yeah, I don't totally understand all of it, but there's a difference between tier 1 and default. So I guess there's multiple tier 1s. And then whether it's default or not is somewhat, and it's not secondary. It's actually very important, but it might be in steps. Yeah, I'm glad to hear though that they are thinking or might be thinking about making a default. From what I understand, people really like that over DDS.
Yeah, I think it worked well for us, didn't it? All right. Let's wrap up there. We'll hopefully have a guest speaker next time. I will prompt. I'll find out if they're available. If not, we could do the ROSCon read over, see if there's anything worth summarizing for people. So those are the 2 session options. If you have a guest speaker, great. Otherwise, we'll look at session abstracts and filter by logging and observability and give our thoughts on it. Thanks for coming. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Ciao.